Happy Saturday, everyone. Hope you can hear me. We have a very interesting project today, and this is one that I've not really done since childhood, so it'll be interesting. I'm going to kind of freehand a basket, and I know some of you had bought kits, which is perfectly, like, you'll probably be successful since you bought a kit. So I think we'll just get started right away. Does it sound like a tin can to anyone? I want to make sure that that's not happening. I'm also up in my attic and it's about 93 degrees up here, so I'm wilting. So let me know. That way I also know how long the delay is between the stream. So type in the chat for me real quick if you can hear me just fine before I start explaining how to make a basket. Okay, I got a message saying it sounds okay. So the start of my basket is going to be this antler that I found, and as you can see, I used my drill press and I drilled 3 holes on each side that I will be running these reeds through. So this is not a wet reed. I have some soaking right now, so that's what I'm going to use. But each strand is going to run through this antler. So when I hold it, it's kind of a natural, comfortable grip. And then each strand will kind of get coiled and wrapped around each other, braided. However, I haven't quite figured out how I want to do it. And then it will make the main body of the basket, and then from the body of the basket I will have spokes that come off that we will start weaving the flat reed through. So let me kind of clear a spot and go to the big camera so you can kind of see what I am doing with my reeds. So I purchased a huge stack of reed, and it came in segments. So I had some smaller pieces, shorter pieces I should say, and those I set aside because those would make good spokes so I can cut them without wasting too much reed. Then I had some really long pieces that I coiled up individually. Well, these were the medium stack that were medium length, and then the really long ones I have soaking right now because that's what I'm going to use to wrap the center handle piece with. So I also purchased these really thin ash splints, ASH splints, and sometimes these are used for finishing edges. I might throw 1 or 2 in there just to make the basket kind of varied, but set those off to the side. And I dyed all these using a fiber reactive dye. I can't remember the name of it. If you guys are interested in the dye I used, I purchased it basically from the place that I got the reeds. So it's a basket dyeing dye, and I used a salt ash is kind of how I pre-treated the reed so it would take the most dye. And this was supposed to be kind of a dark plum color. I didn't let the reed sit in there for too long because I was afraid that the reed would become mushy, which is something you do not want. So got a pretty good color. I might run it through a dye again after I made the basket. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. This is a pretty color. And then I got 1/4 flat reed, and this is what the majority of the weaving will be done with. I also have a tub of water off screen, which you guys can't see, and a spray bottle with water to keep it spritzed, and then clamps. I've seen people use like clothespins, and I purchased these really strong alligator clamps to hold things in place while I'm weaving things, because baskets are essentially held together with just reed. Now I do have some raffia if I need to wrap something with it to hold it in place. And I also got artificial sinew or sinew that I might use to make kind of a spider web hanging off of the handle. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So let me put these off to the side here until we're ready to use them. And I am going to grab a long length of reed that has been soaking. You want to find one that's nice and pliable. And you don't have to be using an antler. You're just going to basically make a hoop is what you're going to do. Get organized here. Okay. So sometimes, let me go to the webcam so you can see he's a little closer. If your reeds are not bendy enough, if you just take and apply a little bit of friction on it, it'll be pretty malleable. Now, if you bend it too much, you'll break it like that. So just be careful. So I'm going to start by kind of working it in here. And each piece is going to be, let's see, go to the big camera. Just work it a little bit. I don't want it to break, so just kind of apply a little bit of friction to loosen those fibers up. Till it's sitting how I want it to. And then I'm going to leave this long because like I said, I'm winging this one, so I'm probably going to end up cutting these in half and lashing them together at the base, at the bottom of the basket. But once these dry, they'll hold just fine. That's kind of the cool thing about baskets. I think I'm actually going to move this farther down. This reminds me of the wire project we did. Just unruly supplies. So what if, make that a little longer. I know some of you guys have, I think, who do we have in chat? A bit longer. I think that'll work better. Carefully bend the reed so it doesn't snap. Okay. I think I'm gonna clamp this right here. Keep these two together. And then I'm going to make another one. Just like that. This hole's a little more stubborn. And I want to try and make these all end up the same length. Is it hot where anyone else is? It is boiling here and humid. I'm gonna have to use this little spray bottle and spritz my face. And just do a little bit more. Okay, now I'm gonna bend that reed down and add it to these other ones. So I think we're gonna have a really cool handle coming out of this for my basket. It's kind of like woodland witch vibe to it. And this, I should have probably filed the antler down a little bit so it doesn't cut into the reeds, but hey, who knows? Yeah. It is hot in Kansas right now. All right. I'm going to flip my reeds in the bucket. Make sure I got a bendy one. Oh, I hope I don't get water on the lens. Flinging water everywhere. Okay. Just make sure that however you want the handle to sit, once these things are dry, it's going to be harder to adjust your reed, willow, whatever you might be using. Okay, so I'm starting my handle here, and I think I'm going to end up braiding them together, but I'm going to let those sit for a minute. Maybe I should braid them together now while they're wet. I think I'm just going to kind of randomly do it. Nonsensical, wild looking braid. I'm not a 6-strand braiding expert, but you do want to probably twist the ones up near the top together. Okay, so I kind of have a braid going on. I'm just going to repeat that with each piece. Uh-oh. Where did I find the antler? Randomly sitting in a bowl at the antique store. Let's see, how do I want this to look? webcam so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, I have no idea how long this live stream is going to be, so strap in. I feel like I want to do a braid with these, but I want them to be tied in here with the other side. A bit unruly. Ah! Poke at my face. Okay, let's see, maybe this one. I have a feeling my hands are going to be tired by the end of this. Just going to twist these around each other until they make sense to me. I need like a clamp on the other side to hold the antler down. Would have been a good idea. Yeah, I need a clamp. Wolfman, if you are listening, please get me a clamp. There we go. There we go. Okay. If while you're working with your reeds, they, yeah, vise would have been a good idea to begin with. If with your, when you're working with your reeds and they start getting kind of like difficult, or you feel like you're going to snap one, just soak it in some water again. Okay, so I'm going to braid this down until I get to a point where I think I'm going to make a juncture. Okay, and I'm also going to clamp this in place so nothing happens to it. Whoa, shake out your hands. Maybe I can move this over a little bit. Whew. you. She brought me a vise, but I'm not sure that one's gonna work. It's all right. Let's keep going. Okay, make sure everything is facing the way you want. Let me give it a shot. I don't think that bone will slice, or antler will slice through it, so. All right, now I think that's long enough. Let me measure that. Measure real quick. Oh, you have arthritis? This might be a challenge for you. Okay, so I'm gonna call it from the bottom hole. I've made it 6 inches. So that's what I need to do on the other side. But see how these are all tangled down here like this? You wanna make sure you keep them separate. Or at least that's what I'm doing. If you have a kit, follow the instructions on your kit. I think someone said that they were doing a flat, like tray type basket. That one's a little bit of a different process. Okay, then get my other reeds started on this side. Dampen that off a little bit. I think how long I want that. I'm going to braid that more. I think actually it'd be better to not make it too big. I want to be able to use it. So same thing. Make sure you got matching and lengths. I soaked the reeds in dye for about half an hour, but probably could have gone a little longer. I also diluted it quite a bit because I had such a huge batch of reed that I was trying to dye, so and if you were making it handle without the antler, you would just be braiding it or twisting it around so it makes I think this is going to be cool. That one doesn't seem long enough. And if you feel like your reed is getting maybe a little mushy, Make sure you take it out of your water. It looks like blood coming out of the antler. Nothing more witchy than that. Okay. And take this down. Oops, sorry. All right, same thing, this side. If I sit, I'll stop going out of screen. What if I wrap it around this way? Go underneath. I think that will look kind of neat. Do I like it? No, no I don't. It's quite this. Get these long reeds out of the way. So I kind of liked on our paint along that we had music. It kind of made it feel like I didn't have to talk the whole time. Sometimes during crafts you just gotta get going. Oh my gosh, got quite the tangle going on here. Wrapped around my headset. Okay, give me just a minute. Pause for a minute. I am completely tangled in reeds. It's wrapped around my headset. How that happened, I have no idea. But maybe I don't even need a headset because you guys said you could hear me fine, right? Golly. Okay. Yeah, a human basket. Not even sure this one is attached to anything. Okay. I'm going to move my flat reeds out of the way too, so just a sec. Got supplies everywhere. Okay. So I got braiding. Okay, see if that looks about even. Not quite. Okay, so now what I have to figure out is how I want to attach these here at the bottom, because they need to make a closed loop so I can make my spokes off of them. So I think I'm going to trim these long ends. Here, let me show you what I'm working with here. I think I'm going to trim these long ends to about here and then weave them together at the base, or lash them. We will see. Okay, so let's go with this one here. So I've got now still some very long segments of reed. So hang on to those, don't throw them away. If you've got excess, which I know, I also bought a kit, and the kit came with pretty much pre-cut lengths of everything, so there was zero guessing work. But like I said, I wanted to see if I could free form a basket. I also wanted to go out into the woods and get like grapevine and stuff to use, but the poison ivy bloomed super quick. So now what we got to do is make sure this is sitting how I want it to when being held. Okay, and then I think I need to get it to about that size. I think that'll be a good gathering basket. You don't want it to be too large and unruly. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to keep braiding them. Or create spokes. bit down. I'm afraid that's not going to be sturdy enough. So undo that back too. A couple notches. Okay. See, those look about equal. Reeds are getting a little dry and stiff. Okay, that is, I think, better. So let's pick these now. I wonder if I can just weave these together, because I'd be really cool if I could just not have to use any kind of lashing. So let's do twist 2 around each other at a time to make the bottom of the basket. Because when these dry, they will be stiff. And this is actually kind of how the Irish baskets are made. There's a couple Irish basket artisans that I checked out beforehand, and this is how they make the hoops for the baskets. Is getting the willow to wrap around. Maybe I need to do it one at a time. I think the interfering with each other. Okay. Would anyone like to be hearing music right now? Okay, so we are getting somewhere. Okay. Definitely doing it one at a time was much better. Okay. This is kind of mimicking a grapevine. Kansas apparently has a never-ending supply of grapevine. It's what's crawling all over my trees. Okay, we're getting a pretty good sturdy bottom here. Keep wrapping this until everything feels secured. Tuck in your ends if you need to. And let's get this going then. Okay, here we go. All right, so now that I have the round shape made, let's just give it a test. Now that I've got the round center kind of frame of the basket, as you can, it's starting to stiff up quite a bit. So now I have to make the other main spokes, and they're gonna come off from this point here. Can you see that? And they're gonna kind of be the length that I want the total length of the basket to be. So how I'm going to do that, a lot of the basket kits, they have you using like glue and stuff, and I just really didn't want to use any other things other than the basket weaving techniques. So I think I'm going to attack this by making that's a good sign. I can take them off and they're not moving. You do want to take one last minute if things are a little crooked to kind of move your reeds into place. Now I'm going to make a thick band that's kind of the thickness of this, and I want it to be like a peace sign. So from the bottom of my braid, I'm going to make 2 spokes that connect, but I'm just not sure if I want them to be. Just going to weave them. Let's see how that works out. Someone had a a video that I watched. They said if you cut these at a point, they're a little easier to get in and out of your baskets. So maybe if I make a double length, run this through the same side, make sure you're at the same height in the basket. It's right there. Cut this one at an angle. I will say, this is quite the long length of mess to be working with. All right, so go in there, get in there. Okay. So what I did, I'm gonna make a ran one end through the other. So I've got this big hoop here that is attached to both sides. Got a little bit of a curly cue. So you can see I run it like this. I'm going to make both these sides even and then secure them back on itself like this. So pinch it, making sure it's the same length. That might be too long of a basket, so I'm going to shorten that up. So what I'm trying to make here is this, I don't know, it's hard to illustrate this from the top, but I am making now a hoop that comes out the front. That will be the front of the basket. And I'm going to wrap them around each other, these ends, like this, to make one of the main spokes. It is so hot up here. I wish I could turn the fan on, but I'm afraid you guys will hear the fan going on in the background. And all right, so do you see where we're at right now? I've got the main part of my basket and the front spoke, main spoke coming off, and then I will repeat the same step to do the back, and then I'm going to secure it with what's called a God's eye weave, and that's done with the flat reed. So I want this basket to look pretty earthy and not kind of store-bought. It's pouring where you're at. Lucky, at least it means it's cooled off. Okay, so I'm actually pretty happy with that. If you look from the side, like I said, you see this will be the front of my basket. Now I need to make the same thing for the back of the basket, and then I do individual spokes between this and this point, and then we can start weaving. So I'm going to wrap that around the outside to make it, I might not even have to do the God's eye, honestly. If I just work this back in, I don't think I have to. Which would make it look a little more organic. So I think I might skip the God's eye, because the God's eye kind of can give it a bulky look to the side of your basket. But it is a traditional basket weaving skill. We could do it and see how it looks, but I'd hate to invest some time and not have that pan out. Okay, and then what I did here, I took this extra piece and I'm just going tightening it on the outside, and then I am working that into this basket here, or the spoke. There we go. So far, I know it looks like a huge mess in the beginning when you're like making everything, but when it starts coming together, it starts coming together. All right, now to do the other side. Dab off the excess water so I'm not flipping it around. Okay, now one thing you do want to mind is trying to make it the same length, but you don't necessarily have to. So this is an improvised basket, so I'm going to do the same thing. Just come in here, go in between, chop this into a point to make that easier. Come in here in between some parts, and I'm gonna try and make those even. One side through. Sorry, this part is super unruly, especially since I'm using crazy reeds. Okay, cut this angle. Find a spot to wiggle it in. These reeds are already starting to dry out and get tough. Also, that's kind of what the pliers are for, if you need to help pull, make room, kind of like pry it apart so you can get a reed in. There we go. Okay. Now we got that same situation going. Actually, I'm going to go in the back way. Ow. Come on. There we go. Woo. There we go. Just gonna find, I'm eyeballing it. You can get real technical and measure this with a tape measure. I feel like that's too long. I'm gonna make this shorter, even shorter. Okay, so looking from the top, I want the front and the back to be roughly the same size. I think that looks good. I did, however, pull too much from one side, so keep them even if you can. Your ends, that is. Okay, that looks maybe a little too much still. Okay, what do you think? You guys think that looks about even front and back as far as size goes? All right, now we're gonna do the same thing. I can't make up my mind if that's too much or not. Okay, start wrapping it. I cut some of this off. I want to say when I placed my order, it was for like 350 feet. That's definitely enough to make a few baskets. So if you are going to improvise a basket like I'm doing, 350 feet will get you a few baskets. This color, has anyone ever seen a New Zealand rose? They're like a really pretty lavender fuchsia color. I feel like that's what this color that the reed ended up being reminded me of. Okay, I feel like that does look a little long, but maybe I can make this look more like a scoop type basket. I think it's a little, yeah, it's a little long. I'm going to take one side in a little bit, like 3 inches. It's hard to tell when I'm not standing up. Okay, I'll stand up so I can see. One through. It's a little better. Cave wrap it. And I am just twisting both ends around each other. So far, we have not had to use any other additional type of lashing. We're just getting creative with the actual weaving of our reed, which I think is kind of the point. All right, so just make sure that these don't dry in a place I don't want them to. Okay, we're at that point again where I can cut this into an angle and stick it back through. A place to secure it even more. Okay, pull that nice and tight. And then continue. Find a place to tuck that end in and do the same on the other side. Yeah, I'm glad I shortened that up because it looks better now. Oh, someone's unhappy. Here, turn the fan on. Okay, tell me if it's too loud. A little bit of air going on me is quite nice. Is it too loud? All right, done with the shape of the basket. I want these to kind of go down a little more at an angle, just a little bit. So maybe I will do the God's eye, just, I don't know, I like the way it is. So here's the view of it if you can see. So now I got to create the spokes for these portions that run from one side to the other. So I'm going to create some kind of starting let's see. I have not decided. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to soak some of my reeds again. And I think I'm going to do just a couple wraps in the God's eye fashion, so I have a little more of an anchor for my spokes that I'm about to make. So these are already kind of damp, so they're not going to take long to soak. But do we have any questions so far how this is going? You can make, or not make, but you can like you could obviously make your own frames, but they come, these, oh, hang on, I keep getting poked in the face. These basket weaving suppliers, they make traditional frames for you to purchase. And essentially all you're doing is assembling it. And the frames are really thick and sturdy, but I wanted more of a, for lack of a better descriptor, like a super pagan looking basket, like something you would see in a midsummer movie, just kind of a fairy basket. So I'm going to make it all kind of look like a grapevine by twisting things together. So can you hear me over the fan? Yeah, I think this is going to turn out. Just going to... So what I'm doing is I'm wetting reeds right now so I can make a God's eye pattern at this juncture right here. So I have something to slip the spokes of the reed up into a little easier. I will say the antler does make it kind of top heavy while you're doing this, so it constantly wants to roll over. And typically the God's eye pattern is done with a flat reed, but I'm going to try it with the round. So to start, I'm going to work the reed in the back here. It's all about disguising things with other things. Then, so I strung it through the back. It's kind of tucked away. And then you take it, wrap it over one side, across and up. Pull it through, and then wrap it on the other side. Come down, across and over. It's just a lashing technique. It's using kind of like survival lean-to making and stuff like that with rope. It makes a really strong joint where two pieces of wood come together. So, can you see that? Keep trying to keep my thing from... So, oops. Go up, over. Ow. I am wearing glasses, just so you know. But you kind of want to incorporate all of the sides of your basket and make sure that it is at the angle you want it to be sitting at. And you're going over and to the outside of your first lashing. And typically this is done about 6 to 8 times. Unfortunately, all this maneuvering of things is making my basket bounce around. I feel like it's making it look bulky. Let me undo this real quick. We all like to nestle together in the same area. Yeah, poison. I am like very allergic to poison ivy. It's not a good day for me when I get poison ivy. So oh, sorry, I keep taking it out of screen. Can definitely see why they normally use the flat reed for the God's eye, because it's too bulky. It's just going to keep getting super bulky. So abort. Mine is lashed together pretty good to begin with, like, so I don't think that's necessary at the moment. We will see. I think oh, I lost it off the back side of the table. Give me a minute. Alright. I'm back. Fix these spokes. All that moving around to do that made them come undone. Darn it. Okay, I want to get to the wrapping stage here in a minute. Okay. Let's just start making some spokes that are entwined into this. I think that'll just be easier. And for that, I'm just going to that one's too brittle, just snapped. You can see, snappy snap. I'm just going to do the same thing that I've been doing. I'm going to take a length of this, figure out how long that spoke needs to be, double it, and then wrap them around each other so we can start weaving. So stick this end. Your spokes need to be in between size. So you're not going to get like a huge bulge. You don't want, I'm trying to make a semi-flat gathering basket, so I don't want there to be a huge spoke that's bulkier or goes past the range of this one here. But you also don't want it to be too short because it'll give you kind of here. It'll give you a bit of a, I think that's good. Cut off the excess. And then do what we normally have been doing and just wrap it around itself and each other. Password problems. Welcome. So I'm kind of improvising a basket, and I'm kind of making it, I wanted it to look more like grapevines, so just to catch you up to speed. So I'm creating this whole thing by wrapping spokes back on itself and what have you. So very quickly created a very sturdy spoke. I'm probably going to add probably 2 more and then go from there. Just make sure that you've got your ends tucked in so they don't come out. It's not so much a big deal when they're dry. They'll stay pretty well good on their own. But now it's starting to stand up on its own, which is great. And I am just going to tuck this end so it is super secure. Anyone have any questions so far? Think I'm crazy for doing what I'm doing? I'm trying to make a relatively flat basket, so not 100%, but a little dip is fine. I want to be able to use it for more than just carrying flowers. I think I'll probably cut this. Okay, one spoke done. I'm going to repeat that process. I've got plenty of reed left, it looks like, so whatever I do on this side, I want to mirror it on the other side. Unless you want an asymmetrical basket, you can totally do that. And can you guys are perfectly fine with the fan blowing in the background? I feel a lot more comfortable. Just soak these a little more. Put my other ones back in the water. The fan is going to end up drying them out a little faster. You can barely hear the fan. Oh, thank you. Whew. It was getting a little hard for me to think with how hot it is in here. Right, I'm going to find a spot, push this spoke through. Might have to use pliers. Estimate how much I'm going to need. Let's see right there. When they make like really professional baskets, they measure everything, but I am not in the mood to do that. Okay, so now let's be a little shorter. It depends on the type of reed. The round ones are a little more forgiving to soak a little longer. The flat and super thin, like ash splints, you don't want to soak them too long because they get mushy and then they start splitting. And unless that's your intention, I would be, so I'd say about 15-20 minutes before you start using them, you could soak them. They'd be fine. I kind of like the look of the round ones a little more, and if I would do this basket again, I think I'd probably order more of the round so I could just do the whole thing with the round. I think that'd be kind of cool looking. It would look more like a willow basket. Okay, once we get the spokes and everything taken care of, I think this is going to go pretty quick. You could make some really cool Halloween baskets. Instead of your regular trick-or-treat baskets, you can maybe make some really gnarly looking ones. Animal bones and antlers for the handles, and running through parts of the basket would be really cool. Like to have it just ingrained into the side, just drill a hole so you can have these like bones and stuff suspended in your basket. It'd be really cool. Okay, let me cut this. So did I tell you guys that I have a interview with a podcaster on Monday? about advertising for us, so something for us to look forward to. Hopefully we get someone who will be interested. Okay, so there we go. You guys can see where this is headed. Does everyone see what's going on now? An unruly end here. It doesn't want to stay. And if you've got something that is not staying, it will stay once it's dry. So just clamp it. And then once it's dry, you can cut the little excess part off that's giving you problems. Okay, so I'm gonna say we probably need two more spokes. So let me get some reed. And you want your spokes to kind of come in from the same part, but because we're making really thick spokes, I might start down just a little bit. Typically they all come out of this point here, but I'm gonna try something a little different. Gotta pry that open. Oh, the reed is drying. Got my spray bottle. Let me spray this away from my camera. Hang on. Okay. Where'd it go? I think I'm actually going to put one more in, one more spoke. And as you get weaving, you can add more spokes later. Just I'm gonna make sure it's long enough to where it makes the basket lay pretty much flat. And then make sure they're both coming from the same kind of distance here. Okay. I'm going to move this one back a little bit. Maybe I can get it to squeeze in anywhere. The only place I have these big open gaps is at this joint, so here I'm going to have to move it back farther. We will go with right there. Okay, so I'm going to, after I make my next the matching spoke on the other side, I am going to start weaving my flat reed, which my flat reed is so thin that I probably don't need to soak it. So, all right, let me cut this. Do you guys want me to move my camera, one of my cameras, to like the side view? Would that help at all? Or is what's happening kind of being illustrated easy enough? So, you guys see where this is going? One more side. Yes, you want me to move the camera to the side? I gotta address this real quick. These pieces were not wrapped very tightly. Just don't let them popping out. Knot I made at the end of the loop. There's no knots. They're literally just wrapped around each other and then like secured back into itself. They're just wrapped because once these dry, they don't really need knots. It stays in place. So there's no real knot. So for instance, like here, I am shoving this reed. Maybe the webcam will show it a little easier. Okay, so I am just taking the reed and I shoved it through a hole between the weave. This one's a little dry. I hope it doesn't. And I just work it through. Until I have about double the length. That reaches to the other side, and then I'm taking it and I'm bending it and then wrapping it around itself. It's hard to get this thing to keep going. I don't want to get it too close to my computer. Okay. And then I'm just twisting it around itself until I need to get this end through. And then to make that end go through a little easier, cut it at an angle. Find an open spot that you can shimmy it through. And then do the same thing. And you want to make this spoke match the other sides. So probably a little shorter than that. Cut your excess off. Wrap it around. And I am just securing this in any way that makes sense to me, just kind of working with the vines, or reed, sorry. Continue wrapping. And I'm worried about this spoke maybe being a little weak. You can always double it up. So if you can, force another one through the other end and tighten it. And then weave it kind of back in on itself. And then tuck in the end. Because once you put your flat reeds in here, you're not going to see any of these loose ends. It pretty much covers them. Okay, so main camera. Now I have my basket. the main shape of my basket. The spokes are a little unruly right now, but that's okay. And now I can start with my flat reed. Give me a minute just to put that on the side. You guys see how this is going to be flat, a flat basket, flat gathering basket. Let me collect all my stray pieces so they're out of the way. And these little single pieces here, when we start with our flats around here, we can start tucking. We're going to start weaving with our flats here. And then as we feel like we need more reeds or spokes, we just tuck them in and add a spoke. They won't be as thick as the other ones, but that'll kind of create a neat look to it. Alright, I'm grabbing my flats now. I haven't soaked these, so I'm going to try it without being soaked first. Hopefully it's too close. There we go. I guess I'll just, okay. The antler keeps it rolling around, sorry. So to do our flat pieces, we are going to start in the back, and I'm doing this backwards, my direction. Maybe I start in the back, and you're going in the back in the middle. You're going to come up. Over your next and then back down. I'm going over and under. And you can get a little interpretive with this if you'd like. I think I want to run it through this one little spoke I see. Gap. I think it'll make it a stronger basket. Oh, I just cracked the reed. Okay, fix that. over under. And this does kind of suck because you have to pull the reed through. Over under. And when you get around this spoke, it's usually good to do what's called a short row. So to start out, just instead of going past to that rim, head right back and then finish your row. So one row is to both sides and then back to the middle. So you're always gonna end in the middle, okay? And make sure you're keeping your spokes in the spot that you want them to be. So then over, under. And this is kind of to help you secure where you want your spokes to go. And just start wrapping it. Your basket will hold stuff. You don't have to get super technical about it. But what you're basically doing right now is securing your spokes in the spots you want them to go by taking your flat reeds and going over and under. If you haven't purchased supplies yet, you don't have to have flat reeds. You can use all round reeds, which I think would have been fun to do. The size of the round reeds that I have is a size 6, but they come in all kinds of different sizes. So now that I'm back over to the other side again, I can go over that top, one of that main, what are you going to call that? Your outside hoop, I guess, outside spoke, and then just start wrapping your basket. This basket is going to be pretty rustic, kind of not regular, but it will serve its purpose. And this is the part where you kind of just get to like zone out. So and if you wanted a basket that goes higher up on the sides, all you got to do is make these outer spokes a little shorter and then bring them up. So it's almost like you would have two hoops running, I guess, what perpendicular is the word I'm looking for, to each other. Just make sure that you're positioning your spokes as you go. Now I did not, I flubbed up here and I put this spoke a little farther back. That's fine, just keep wrapping it. Not the end of the world. It will hold things, I promise you. And then if you come to a part of your basket where you got like stick flyaways, like these little guys here, just tuck them back in, and then you'll end up running over it with your reed. And they'll be secured in. So we've not used any glue or any additional lashings other than using the reed itself. So I'd say that this is a fairly simple project, and you can make some really cool, gnarly, rustic, witchy looking baskets. So as you're going though, make sure you push your reeds up into place if they're coming out. Your flat reeds. You can do what some people do, and they count their rows to make sure they've got an even number of rows on like both sides of the basket. I'm not going to, because I can't concentrate 100% when I'm doing these things. So like I said, I really wanted kind of just a free form basket. It's going to go next to my hearth. It's in the colors of my Halloween decoration motif. My reed source, I think it's actually in the original post for when I announced the craft, what it was going to be for the craft along. I think I posted the link there. But I will absolutely repost it if it's not there. What do you guys think? Coming along? Were you guys pretty skeptical? I wouldn't blame you. Yeah, now that my reed's drying out, you can kind of see where these little guys on the bottom are getting unruly, but that's alright. I'll tighten those up here soon. Is this like some crinkly basket ASMR? Make sure your spokes are always where you want them. These things will start to migrate, and then your basket will kind of lose its shape a little bit. An old hand? What does that mean? Is that a good thing? I never heard that one, an old hand. I'm assuming that's a good thing. What I'm thinking is that it seems like I just know what I'm doing without having to. One more time. And then once I run, I'm going to keep going on this side until I run out of reed, and I will show you guys how to overlap reeds so overlapping reed so you can start in with a new piece. Now I'm using the reeds that I kind of identified as like extra long to do this. But when you are trying to end a reed, don't end it at the outer edge. You don't want to end it towards the outer edge. It'll be more vulnerable there. Oh no, I twisted it. And make sure you don't twist your reeds because they'll be extra weak if you do. So just kind of back it out and so this basket is going to hold something for sure. Alright, sorry. I get excited. Oh, whoops. How did that happen? And there we go. And you got to make sure you do over-under. I almost just did a over-over. That would have been a bad mistake to make. Now, wetted reeds, you can get into spaces tighter, and then when it dries, it'll be even tighter, for lack of another word. Make sure that my basket's getting equal. I feel like it's starting to get shorter on one side, so tighten up on this one and loosen up on the other. Okay, so I'm about to the point where I definitely feel like I need to add a spoke. So I'm going to double this back. And then come I'm going to clamp this right here so that doesn't come undone. Oh. So if you want to know what the inside of it looks like, and then there's the outside so far. I am going to run 2 spokes so they're a little wider, and I'm going to put them probably right here. So you just tuck them up in there, over, in and out. So let me go to the other camera real quick so you can get a better shot. So all I did was I took these 2 and I am just shoving them into the over-under portion until they won't go anymore. Just make sure that they're level. And just so they look like the other ones, I'll wrap them around each other. Go to the main camera. And they may pop out. That's okay. Don't freak out. Son of a gun. They may pop out. Oh, whoops. Sorry. When you feel like you have to add a spoke, you have to, you obviously have to do the other side. You have to weave the other side. Otherwise, you don't have something for the other end to go to. So now I'm going to start in on this side. And let me see. My basket is a little irregular shaped here. Now that everything's drying, just bend it all into place. Okay. And I definitely went up higher on this side. That's perfectly fine with me. I do not care. So let's start weaving this side. Definitely need a little bit of hand strength for some of this, but it's not too bad. I was like contemplating making a picnic basket, and I was like, oh, that sounds like a little too much work. It's probably a whole day activity, not just a quick. I mean, we're only at an hour in. Not too bad. I watched some videos where people secured their ends with wood glue just to give it another level of security. I'm not going to. Okay, so I think you guys kind of see. I wanted a nice flat basket that we can just lay our stuff in. Whatever you're gathering, you foraging folk. Is anyone doing any crafts right now? Aside from basket making? Painting thread spools. I remember doing that. You can knock these baskets out pretty fast if you're not worrying about measuring anything. It's kind of why I decided to do a basket like this, and as opposed to using my kit, because I didn't want to make any mistakes in front of anyone at this time. Not that I'm opposed to making mistakes, it's just this seemed a little more fun to me than trying to calculate stuff. Like, as you can see, I'm just running this wherever I feel like I want it to go. And it's going to be a really cool kind of organic looking basket, so have fun with this. I'm 2 hours in. Oh. Oh, it says average viewer time 1 hour. Never mind. I lied. Okay, we're definitely on this side needing more spokes. So we're almost there. Okay. Gonna bring this one back around because, like I said, you don't want to end it on an outer edge. Bring it to the middle, and then I will clamp it there. Okay. Whoop. Okay, we see it? Okay, spokes. I'm gonna add 2 to each side. Get some wet. So I'll go here, and we'll add 2. Alright, so then you're just going to tuck these in to your woven side. I'm going to wrap them around each other so they look kind of similar. To the other ones. And then I need to make them a little bit shorter. Let's go right here. So what I'm doing, like I said, is just tucking these in. So I just added, I added a spoke. Now I have more to work with, and I'm going to add probably another set right here once I get a little farther along. So I'm going to make another set for the other side. I need everything to be pretty equal. Just 2 of my extra pieces from earlier. you ever need to not be using your clips, just tuck your reed into another part of your basket. Okay, so we wanted to add one here. You gotta follow the same over under, roughly. You don't have to be exact. They will stay in there once it's woven. There we go. Okay. Twist, twist, twist. Take it to the other side. And match the length of the other one, and then chop it and shove it up the section. Okay. I'm going to shorten that a little bit because it's not going as far as the other one. Okay, looks pretty good. Now we just keep going. Unless you need to add more, which I think I will add some here soon. But one thing you also want to make sure is that if you look at my basket, I'm getting kind of like an egg basket shape to it, to where it's coming up to be, what's the word? Concave, convex, whichever one. When I am doing these, I need to make sure that I am putting good tension on it so the basket stays relatively flat. So just keep an eye on that. I did think about maybe running a length of the thick round one, because that would help hold it outward. So why don't I give that a shot? Okay, we're gonna go improvisation, right? Make sure you don't pull out your new spokes. But what I'm doing right now is I'm going to use the thicker reed to hold my basket out because I felt like it was getting a little out of shape. So we're going to hold it flat, put the right tension on it. Then I'm going to wrap it back on itself, the reed. And then I'm going to go down the other side. I don't want to pull these tight though, because I want it to hold the spokes out a little more fanned. So I'm going to keep it flat, pushed on it. Actually going to cross this. Over, under, over, under. Over, under, all the way. Uh-oh, my spokes came out. It's all right. Stay cool. I'm not going to worry about those spokes at the moment. I'm just going to get this laid in here so it's nice and flat. Okay, cool. You see how this is going to hold this out for me while I'm doing this so the basket doesn't get all wonky shaped and pointy like an egg basket. That was some creative problem solving right there. This is like a Blair Witch Barbie doll basket. And I'm probably going to go back the other way one time just to make sure it's really tough. Oh yeah, anything is possible. Don't mind me, I'm just knocking everything on my desk off. And then I can go back and put those spokes back in there. They popped out on me. Whoa, whipped me. Okay, and then I'm just going to end this on the bottom side, I think would be good. Okay. I'm just going to chop, chop, chop and stick the end in there somewhere. All right. Now, the shape of my basket should not get lost very easily. Okay. Get these spokes back up in there. Kind of looks like a skeleton's rib cage. Okay, now, flat pieces. When you start a new piece, you're just going to overlap. Let me see if I can get the other camera on. Clear all this up real quick. Okay. So you've run out of a piece. You basically overlap the pieces, and then you just keep weaving with both. So start, go back a little bit, tuck the end in, overlap it. I just broke it. All right, if your reeds are getting dry, which mine are because it's really hot up here, I'm gonna put some of them in the water real quick. And that's just to keep them from snapping, so give me just a second. And if you've got your reeds laid out, you can just spray them with a spray bottle. I'm just dunking them in a tank real quick. It's a little faster. Plus my camera equipment doesn't get wet. Okay, and I'll do one more. Okay. As I was saying, let's take this dried snap one out, put the wet one there. And we'll just keep going. So the general rule of thumb for the distance between spokes, unless you're using like a really fine raffia or something like that, or yarn or whatever you're using, is about 2 fingers between each spoke. I went a little farther distance wise. But like I said, I also like the look of a basket liner, so that might be something I do a tutorial on, is making like a little kind of neat basket liner, if that makes any sense. I don't know what else to call it, but it's like a linen that sits inside of your basket that fits over it, so it's like little fine things don't fall out. Okay, so I'm at the end of the original strand. I'm just making sure that this is wrapping over the top of it, and then bringing it down. And now we have a perfect seamless transition right here between the two. So I'm just going to keep going. When you're, what happened here? Over, under. Oh my goodness, I skipped one all the way in the back. I went the wrong way. I wasn't paying attention. See how I've got, I don't know if you can see it, I've got over, under, next to each other. Not good. It's not going to be the end of the world if you did that 1 or 2 times, but if you kept doing that for several rows, it's not going to be a good basket. So I have to undo all of that last row. Come on, Carol, why didn't you stop me from making a mistake, huh? Just kidding. Okay, so let me go. Here is where I messed up. So here I should have gone under. I skipped an entire spoke is what it looks like. So make sure you don't do that. Okay, back on track. Or am I? Over, under, over. Something's going on. Oh, that's right. Even versus odd. That's what that is about. I need to add 2 more spokes. Otherwise, this is going to be a problem. So now I'm going to add a spoke. Let's see. Where should I put a spoke, huh? Ow, my fingernail. I'm going to put one right in the middle here because this is going to get pretty big. So let's do 2 lengths. Looks like that'll be enough. So cut this. Soak them real quick. They're getting mighty brittle. I forgot about that rule. If you add a spoke, you have to add like 2. Otherwise, that messes up your over-under counts. Take it, weave it through, because I'm a big dummy. Oh, it snapped. No good. Alright, these things are way too dry. Gonna re-wet them. They're starting to snap. Get all these extra rounds, dunk them in the water for a little bit. So yeah, what do you guys think so far? I'm kind of excited. It's good. Is everyone learning something? So yeah, the mistake I just made there was the reason why I kept ending with an over under is because I did when you add a spoke, you have to add them in like equal sets. So if you add one to one side, you have to add essentially 4. So if that makes any sense. All right. Maybe they're done soaking, hopefully. All right. Taking one, making sure the ends match, and cutting it in half. I'm gonna stick them in to where they need to go. Okay, twist them up. Actually, I should probably thread them through the middle first. That's where I snapped it. So let's do hands in there. Okay, just fit them in there the best way you can. Ugh. Now to cut these ends so they fit. All right, now we are back on track. Over under. And make sure before I move on. Over, under, over. Ah! Over, under, over, under. Okay, I think that is where we need to be. I feel like I'm missing something. But I guess I'll find out what I'm missing. Something is up. What is happening? All right. You make one mistake. Okay, new piece. Just always make sure you've got the number of spokes in there that will end up to where you have over, under, over, under. Otherwise, you're going to end up with what just happened to me. So, let's back it up a little bit. Overlap your pieces. Can't see the back of my basket. I don't know why I'm working on the far side. All right. Over, under, over, under. Okay, back on track. Something is not right. Something seems off. I'm just going to keep going because this is a free-form basket. This is precisely why I didn't want to stick to a patterned one. It's working, whatever it is. Okay, so I don't know if you guys want to continue watching me weave it, or do you guys get the idea? The only other thing that I had to explain to you was you have to end up doing short rows every now and then to make this end up being an even piece down the middle. But since this is kind of a free-form basket, it is, you don't have to. You can just weave in pieces where you need it after the fact. You don't have to make it nice and straight. I probably won't. I don't want it looking too commercial, but this is taking me a minute to correct errors. It's all right. We're back on track though. So you guys let me know. Do you want to sit here the whole time and watch me weave, or do you want me to finish this up off screen and then post the final result? I'd hate to hold you guys up. If you feel like you have to be here, you can always leave if you want. But the main thing is to add spokes when you start getting massive gaps in between your flat weaves, or whatever you decide. The ones that run down your basket. Okay. I think you guys probably get the idea. I had to do this with the candelabra one, the little arm candle holder sticks, the parts that held the actual candlesticks. That would have taken me another like 2 hours to do that on camera. So as long as I did one arm, people could see how to do the rest. Adding this centerpiece, I think that was kind of key, because see how it's holding its shape like perfectly now? So if your basket is improvised and it's starting to lose its shape, put in some support pieces of some doubled up flat reed or some thinner or the thicker round reed. Does anyone else have an opinion on whether or not we call it here and then I just post the progress? You see? I'm actually really liking how this is turning out. So I'll just keep weaving on this so I can crank the fan and not be sitting sweating my butt off. And you guys don't have to watch me doing a repetitive moment over and over and over. But that's my basket. I hope you guys learned something or it gave you an idea. So this is not measured by any means. Everything's eyeballed, so don't be afraid to make a basket. Doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical unless you're one of those people where everything has to be perfectly symmetrical. So I'll call it here, and I will maybe sit in Discord if people are crafting and want someone to talk to. So that's our basket weaving craft along. It's going pretty fast now, honestly. Now that I got all the extra spokes I need in there. Yeah, I do too. I think, I don't know, there's something very rustic and kind of primal and primitive with the primitive baskets. I don't know, I think they're really cool. I prefer this style. It's less contrived. Nothing wrong with the other style, this is what I think is more fun to do. Alright, so just a quick close-up of what that's looking like. And I will continue all the way down the basket. And then when it gets to it, and I have to do some short rows, I'll do some short rows. I'll just improvise and fill in where I need to, or use some round reed. Who knows? I might change it up a little bit. So there's the basket, guys. I also had an idea of making kind of some cobweb looking shapes that go from the handle to the basket with, I don't know, maybe the round reed or some sinew or something. So, yeah. I hope you guys make a basket. Find yourself an antler. Drill some holes in it. It's kind of a cool little addition to it. Thank you guys. Bye.